This is Gary Cato with Project SOS, and I'm very proud to sponsor this episode of Salute. We hope you enjoy it.
Hello and welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and I have the honor of having an active military veteran, I'm an active military person who is a full bird colonel, Riccoh Player. Thank you for coming on the show, Colonel. I know you're a busy man. We tried to get together about a month ago, and because of the COVID, you had some other assignments.
Absolutely. Bob, thank you. Thank you for what you do, telling veteran stories. Thank you for the care and feeding you provide to the community by sharing these stories. A lot of times, if you don't capture them, no one will. So thank you. Hats off to you for that.
Do I owe you for this?
Not yet. For my job, I have two hats. One is aboard Parish Island. I am the Headquarters and Service Battalion Commander, and that means that beans, bullets, Band-Aids, trams, the training for General Nethercott's staff, the range, all the stuff that makes a city work, all the good stuff goes to the general's desk, all the headaches come to mine, and that's okay. That's what I'm there for, because it takes a lot for production to take place, as you well know, being in this business. So whenever new Marines march across the parade deck and graduate, there's my team behind the scenes that ensures that that occurs. And that's my day job. My other job is task force commitment. And that is before poolies report to the yellow footprints, those legendary yellow footprints aboard Parish Island, because of COVID, because of restriction of movement, they had to come and see me. And that is the care and feeding of those poolies, ensuring that they're not infected before they go to the yellow footprints.
So your poolies are the young people just coming in, right?
Yes, they raise their right hand.
And tell me about the yellow. I don't know the yellow footsteps. I was Air Force, so we don't have any yellows. We had wings.
Okay, here and what do they say in the Air Force? 4. You know, we say hoorah. They say so.
We say bye.
So there are two parts. So the first part is because of COVID, the Marine Corps entry-level training pipeline did not stop, did not take a knee, did not pause. So what that means is when the young person raises their right hand and say, hey, I'm going to join, we say, okay, that's good to go, but because of COVID, you can't go directly to Parish Island. The yellow footprints are legendary. That's where the training officially begins for a poolee to transition to a recruit. Under COVID, we couldn't do that. Before I arrived at Parish Island, my predecessor, Colonel Sean Killeen, he was the first line of defense as poolies were coming in, a few with sniffles, a few not knowing what's wrong with them. So we rapidly established a tent city out in the Weapons Field Training Battalion area. 25-person tents, we put poolies in there, but if Poolie Bob and Poolie Riccoh were infected, all 25 were infected. So that's a non-starter. So we didn't pause, we had to shift, and we shifted to the Citadel, just about 45 to 90 minutes up the road from Parish Island, and we had the entire campus. We could take poolies outside, we could march them around, we put them in 2 to 4 person rooms instead of tents, and we contained the spread. And it was awesome. As with all awesome things, sometimes they come to an end. And it came to an end at the Citadel because the students were returning and Mother Nature had a vote in hurricane season. Oh. So here's the nightmare scenario. I have 1,300 poolies plus my staff at the Citadel. And let's say we've got 5,000 recruits at Parish Island trained at the same time, and a hurricane comes through and we have to evacuate all of these folks. That's not what we were trying to do. So I shifted west. And and you'll appreciate this in the Air Force, we commandeered a hotel in downtown Atlanta.
Wait a minute. You're going to take a shot at the Air Force again on me now? You did that. We were just on the radio, by the way. We're on the radio 1410 to Q with James Floyd, great radio station AM, Colonel Basinger, Captain Theo Bob, and you and I. And you did take a shot at me about the hotels. Yeah. I think you're jealous.
Professional envy.
Okay.
And all good. So we shifted to Atlanta. One of the challenges in Atlanta, the same quality of life was provided, the same training was provided, but since we couldn't have the poolies outside, we had them doing exercise in their room with closed circuit TV. If I had poolies with green on green physical training gear in downtown Atlanta, that would not be success. that would cause too much attention, not the attention that the Marine Corps would want in downtown Atlanta. So we did everything contained in the hotel, and that lasted about 6 months. And we had to shift again because my logistics support from Parish Island to Atlanta was a tremendous, 5 to 7 hour tail on that. And that's not sustainable. So we had to shift again, and that's what brought us to the wonderful state of Florida in Jacksonville, Florida, where again, we have a hotel to care for and contain these poolies before they report to the yellow footprints.
I've got an old Marine over there sitting out in the audience. His name is Tony.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony, Korea and Vietnam.
Korea and Vietnam.
I don't think he ever got into a hotel.
He probably didn't have to because there was no COVID at that time.
Oh, okay.
He was dealing with something.
So have things slowed down quite a bit, or?
Without question, and we've learned a lot with every move. And the main learning point going from Atlanta to Jacksonville is that if I have a COVID positive poolee, I cannot put that poolee on a commercial bus with a civilian. Mm-hmm. So we had to adjust again. It's a lot of outside the box thinking in order to keep this mission going. So I have a COVID positive poolee who has to report to Parish Island, and the rest of my staff has to go to Jacksonville. So for the COVID positive poolee, I had to find COVID positive recovered drivers and assistant drivers, and I had 88 of them, 88 poolies that were infected. I put them on 4 buses, socially distanced. We moved them from Atlanta to a halfway point that was contained in quarantine. They could use the bathroom, get food, and then finish their trip to Parish Island. The rest of my staff and poolies who weren't finished with restriction of movement moved from Atlanta straight to Jacksonville. Lots of moving parts, but we didn't lose any poolies and no staff. So it was a successful move.
It's quite an undertaking.
Yes.
But I'd like to talk a little bit more about you.
Oh, me.
So I understand you're from Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio, world's finest.
Here we go again. You got how many years now you've been in the Corps?
32.
32. You don't look that old to be 32. And also, I understand from reading the information about you, you have a wife and four kids.
4 children.
4 children,
3
yeah.
boys, 1 girl, and the girl is not the youngest, okay? And I always have to clarify that because folks, when they're having kids, they'll say, boy, 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 girl. So they were trying to get a girl. Okay, ours is boy, girl, boy, boy. So she's not the youngest. She's right where God wanted her to be.
But she's the smartest.
Absolutely.
She went in the Air Force.
Hair power.
Tell me a little bit about when you went in. You went right after high school?
No.
No?
So,
I knew that.
After high school, had an offer to go to college, and my guidance counselor said, hey, if someone's going to pay for you to go to school, get that education. I said, okay, roger that. So I packed up my bag and went to Ithaca College, studied theater and debate. What I didn't mention on the radio was that New York State forensics champion in 1990, I think it was, but a big trophy, a big deal for the school. That was the first time Ithaca College had a public speaking champion in the midst. So it was pretty good. But back then, all the marketing stuff wasn't as savvy as it is now. But great time there. Ithaca was wonderful. Lots of snow. I never went skiing, not once. And I'll talk about that later on when I first learned.
You weren't a player, A player?
Still no $50 for this guy.
We have this running joke. If somebody comes up with a way of saying his name that hasn't been associated with something else, he says he'll give you $50, but I don't believe that.
And I've had that $50 bill in my wallet.
I don't think it's ever coming out. But anyway, so you went into the Corps.
So after graduating from Ithaca College, I enlisted in the Marine Corps, and that was my degree was for my mom, the Corps was for me, and I just planned to do 4 years.
Was your dad or anybody else in the family served?
My uncles served in the Army and the Navy, and I have an aunt who served in the Army as well. So I'm first Marine.
Okay, yes. Good. And after Parish Island, what were you doing then? Because you obviously are now into public relations and all that stuff. You moved way up. But
okay.
you didn't go in as a bird colonel.
No, absolutely.
So give us a little background.
Okay, a little background. So in 1989, aboard those magical footprints at Parish Island, 2 weeks ago, today actually. And so here's a quick tidbit. So I'm not very, as a public affairs officer, I should be socially savvy. I'm not. I leave that to the professional staff NCOs and NCOs that work with and for me. But as things change, I've learned to evolve. So, and part of the evolution is LinkedIn. I'm a new fan on LinkedIn, and it's just other professionals doing stuff, and a lot of Marines on there as well. So 2 weeks ago, the morning of the 16th of June, I went to the Yellow Footprints because 32 years ago to that day, I stepped off the bus at the Yellow Footprints. So for me, it was for no one. It was for me. I stood over on the side, didn't mess with the drill instructor, but I had it over my shoulder, and I was saying, hey, 32 years ago today, I was on those Yellow Footprints. There may be a colonel in that bunch over there.
Yeah.
There may be a general over there who starts not from an academy or taking nothing away from the academies or the Air Force Academy or West Point, but a hard charger from the Yellow Footprints enlisted may get here. So it was a special moment for me personally to go back there. And next year, when I turn over headquarters and service battalion to someone else, I'm doing it on the 16th of June. Because the outgoing guy or gal picks the date, and the incoming will adjust or not get the baton from me.
Wow. Well, I really thank you for all your service. I mean, 32 years, that's amazing.
Yeah, so but from the Footprints, the graduation, and School of Infantry East, did what I had to do there, stayed out of trouble. And at the time, they were looking for more folks to go to 8th and I, some tall folks to go to 8th and I, specifically African Americans, because a politician attended one of the evening parades and looked out and said, "Ooh, there's not a lot of color out there." So the powers that be said, "Okay, get some more diversity to the barracks."
Can I interrupt you a minute?
Absolutely.
A and I?
Eighth and I, the oldest post in the Marine Corps.
You want to tell people what that is?
Marine Barracks 8th and I is the Presidential Guard, was what they're called. So 8th Street Southeast and I Street Southeast intersect, and the oldest post of the Corps is there at Marine Barracks 8th and I. And that was my first duty station. So left School of Infantry, got on a bus, went to 8th and I, and life changed after that.
I'll bet, yeah. Yeah, you started moving on up.
Slow and steady.
Yeah, that's good. But I was looking at this article that our friend
Keith Oliver
wrote about you, and in it, he talks about some of the different places you were, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait for Operation Desert Storm, Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. You were well traveled.
Five combat tours by the grace of God, survived them all. And with any combat tour, we all have scars. And I think I compartmentalize that stuff and just kind of put it over to the side. That's how I cope. Everyone copes differently. And I think there's so many programs available now if folks are having any challenges or anything to use the resources that are available. There's a one source line and one source web site they can go to if they need assistance. And I think that as veterans, you veterans provide a perspective or an outlet for discussion, which I don't think a lot of young folks take advantage of.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, I'm pretty well known in the veterans community, and there's a couple of guys sitting over there that also. And veterans do help other veterans. We can talk to one another.
Absolutely.
And it's important, I think, for young people to get to know veterans, and whether they go to the school and talk to them or whatever. We've got some great programs going here. I introduced you to my friend George Wanberg. He does, and Theo Bob. They're both doing some of that, visiting the schools with their programs. But and I encourage a lot of young, recently retired or coming out of the service to get involved in the Legions, the VFWs, the AMVETs, the Marine Corps League, whatever. Together we can make a great difference.
Absolutely.
But you, 32 years? Wow. So, and on the 16th of next, that'd be neat.
Yes.
See that happen.
It was very emotional for me to go there and see these young men and women coming off the bus and going to the Yellow Footprints and hearing the drill instructor wear them out.
I remember my drill instructor. Yeah.
Indeed.
So, you're in Jacksonville now?
Still at Parish Island. but because I have 170 reservists working for me in Jacksonville, my deputy runs the day-to-day operations at the hotel, and I go down once a month and walk through, see how everyone's doing, ensure morale is decent. Doesn't necessarily have to be high, but focus on the mission of getting these young folks from the gateway. I call it the gateway because you have to go through there to get to the yellow footprints under COVID. And I was the chief of staff at Force Headquarters Group, Marine Forces Reserve in New Orleans, before being the spokesman for the Marine Corps, which is the tour before this one. And in New Orleans, I had General Fahey would come down once a month, and you know, he was the general, but I ran the day-to-day of the operation. So here in Jacksonville, what I learned at Force Headquarters Group positioned me for Jacksonville in the sense that I trust my deputy to execute my intent, run the day-to-day operations, but I come in once a month and kind of inspect what's going on to make sure we're still on target. So it's a unique operation. For the few strands of hair I have left, it definitely turns them gray.
I'll tell you, 32, you look great for somebody that's been 32 years. Obviously, you have to keep in shape, too.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I thought maybe you were coming down to recruit me, but it's too late, buddy. It's too late.
There's waivers for everything.
No,
You're
not that.
enjoying retirement.
Have you ever been to the Pentagon and served with the Pentagon?
So the tour before this one was at the Pentagon, Headquarters Marine Corps. The tour before that, I was at Headquarters Marine Corps on 9/11. I was there as well. I remember that day vividly. It coming up on the anniversary this year.
20 years.
20 years, just like that.
Yeah.
And I was in the Pentagon press pit that day. And technology has evolved so much just because reflecting on it, you know, there are big flat screen TVs throughout now. We had a couple of, you know, regular little TVs at a couple of positions there in the press pit. And that day, regular battle rhythm, or the stuff you do, you come in, you check your accounts, you touch base with the senior officers there, so on and so forth. And we're kind of going through the battle rhythm, and there's a buzz, you know, over on the flank, you know, something's going on in New York. And they show the footage. It's like, oh my, that was an accident.
Yeah, I thought so too at first.
God, that was an accident. So, you know, say a micro prayer for those folks and keep pressing with your job. Second aircraft hit, and you know that was no accident.
Yep.
And the senior folks, and I was a captain at the time, the senior people started doing their immediate actions, making phone calls, ensuring that the high visibility accounts are covered, so on and so forth. And I'm like, wow, you know, I stop and pause and say a prayer and say, wow, just, you know, pray for those families that are affected. And the Pentagon is hit.
Yeah. And you were in there.
And so from if we're sitting at my desk, it's on the other side of the building from me. But immediately, hey, we need to get out of this building. So we start getting a head count of personnel. We go out into the hallway, and there's some smoke starting to come in. We go through the center court of the Pentagon, because if folks that are familiar with it, you have, of course, the 5 sides, and the middle is open, and you can cut through.
Yeah.
We got everyone out, everyone accounted for. We kind of school circle. You know, hey, Ricco's here, Bob's here, everyone good. We've got maybe 30 public affairs professionals. Now, granted, this is 20 years ago. 30 public affairs professionals. How many phones?
2.
How many, Bob?
1.
How many, Bob?
None.
0.
Wow.
Now it's an appendage. Yeah, you go nowhere without your phone now. 20 years ago, we got up and got out. No one grabbed a phone. Not everybody even had a phone.
Yeah.
One guy, I believe he was from either the security detail of the Pentagon or one of our adjacent offices. Mm-hmm. One guy had a phone, had a line out to his wife, and we lined up and said, hey, you know, give me your phone number and who we're talking to let them know you're okay. While we've got this line open, my wife will call everybody and let them know you're okay. But to this day, I don't know who the guy is, but that one line was, hey, we know you're watching on the news. He's okay, and he'll touch base with you when he can. Because, you know, there were pagers and, you know, the flip phones, all those things, and all the lines were busy.
Yeah.
So his one lifeline that got out, that's how we communicated with our family.
Well, a lot of the problems too was when they hit the towers. The antenna was on the top. Yeah, it would go on, and they lost a lot of communication that way. When next time you come down this way, I want you to meet my good friend Father Gary Cato. He has a very interesting story about September 11th. He was down at Ground Zero, and his I think we believe it was his nephew was at the Pentagon during that time too. So. I'd like you to meet him, and you could check him out on Central Florida Salute YouTube.
Central Florida Salute YouTube. Okay.
So you come back by this way very often? Or?
With my good friend Keith Oliver here, who's he's adamant that Brigadier General's in my future. I'm adamant that I will plan for a lot of stuff. He wants me to look at Florida as a retirement location.
We'd love to have you here. We'll make you a member of the Eagles right here.
My wife, she gets the final vote, so wherever she decides, that's where we'll go. But Florida is on our short list.
Commanding officer, yeah.
Yes. She is the CG, the commanding general.
So, of all your deployments, everything, what stands out most?
Of all the deployments.
And have you met any? Who have you met? You must have met some really interesting people along the way, other than me.
Deployments. That's a loaded question because they're all unique and all bring a certain flavor. All take away from family time.
Well, I give you guys, the men and women in uniform, I give you a lot of credit. I mean, I was it was many years ago, it was Vietnam, there was a draft, I was a single guy. But you trying to raise a family with 4 kids, you and your wife, that's got to be hard.
Absolutely. And she is the cornerstone of the family. And, we kind of joked before that, hey, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. But that carries a lot of grounding from my family in that I think our kids saw the sacrifices as a family. I think my kids appreciate fellowship. They appreciate flexibility and being able to bloom where planted, going from a rising senior in one school to, digging in and pressing hard at another. For my daughter, as we went from we went from Norfolk to New Orleans, and she really loved Norfolk, and it was tough, and she was angry with me for a while, and I just absorbed it. I took it because, the machine said shift, and we shifted. She's stronger today for it. I think she's forgiven me.
I'm sure she has. I'm sure she has. You sound like a great dad to me, and
Keith Oliver loves the Rumsfeld stuff. I guess the Rumsfeld time, and that's what makes me feel old, is that they don't have these jobs anymore, the stuff that I've done. So I was a national fellow, a Commandant National Fellow at Chicago Tribune for a year. I went there, I grew my afro out, it was huge. No pictures of that.
I think your fellow Marines would like to see that one.
So I grew my hair out, and I was a civilian with Chicago Tribune for a year learning the newspaper industry, and it was fascinating. And at that time, they were pivoting towards the web. They were, newspapers were kind of fading with the hard copy and more web stuff, and I was just absorbing all of that. That was a great tour. Rumsfeld specifically, he was on the board at Tribune when he wasn't the secretary, and I was his public affairs officer for international travel. So there was a full bird colonel in the office, and then there was Major Player. And the colonel said, "Colonel's not traveling, Major's traveling." Aye, sir. So I did all the travel stuff, and I would prep the secretary for interviews on the aircraft. And there's one where I'm getting him mic'd up for an event, and Miss Tori Clark, she was standing there as well, and she was saying something like, don't be nervous or anything. And the secretary said, "He's not nervous, I'm nervous," or to that effect. And it was those times and those kinds of settings where you saw the human side of folks, because everybody just saw Rumsfeld and Rummy's rules from the podium, and that was pretty much. But it was sort of like sitting with you guys at the table this morning.
Really, that crazy, huh?
Uncle Rummy, I would never call him that.
We did have a great time today.
Absolutely.
So, in retrospect, looking back now, 32 years, I'm a young man. Would I join the Marines? Should I join the Marines?
Wow. Should you join the Marines? The Marine Corps is not for everyone. Just like college is not for everyone. I told my children, what's best for you, whatever you decide, whatever your journey, I'm with you 1,000%. But commit. Don't be wishy-washy. Commit. Stick with it. And I think that's healthy. That's realistic. That's manageable. Even our daughter, VMI scholarship, Virginia Military Institute. The Marine Corps gave her a scholarship. The Army, HUA, came off the top rope with more money. So she went to VMI. She got through, she achieved her RAT year, her first year, but it was not for her. As a father, it stung, but what did she want? You weren't going to stay with us. You have to do something. So she said, I'm not feeling the Army. Okay, so sweetheart, what are you feeling then? And she said, I'm thinking about the air, and before force was out of her mouth, I had her in the vehicle and down to the recruiter. She raised her right hand, said the oath, and she's happy.
How long has she been in now?
3 years.
3 years?
3 years.
So she's getting ready to re-up, you think?
I think so. Well, she signed a contract for 6, if I'm not mistaken. So and there was a bonus involved and all this. Air Force is high speed.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that, sir.
So whatever makes them happy, whatever they're passionate about, commit to it, stick with it, and
I tell you what, the young people nowadays, after September 11th, you saw a lot of men and women joining the military, just stepping up, and I can't say enough about the young people now in the military, and especially now. I'm going to be doing some shows with the Tri-County women veterans in another month, and the women in the military, how that has really grown. They're fighter pilots, they're whatever, they're all over the place.
And, aboard Parish Island, a magnifying glass has been on Parish Island with gender integration. And it's a political issue, and I don't do politics, period.
I don't either.
But for us, we see firsthand there are 2 camps. And what Brigadier General Julie Nethercott, my boss, she's looking at is a 4-and-2 model. 4 male platoons, 2 female platoons, getting them through. She's looking at a 5-and-1 model. 5 male platoons, 1 female platoon, getting them through. And looking at the measurement of how are these young ladies faring in these 2 situations. They're all getting through, but it looks like right now the 4-and-2 is the most effective because you have these 4 male platoons competing and these 2 female platoons competing. And when the tide rises, all the shifts are lifted up. So it's tremendous to see. We're just trying to measure, how effective is the training for these young recruits as they're going through Parish Island, whether it's 4-and-2, 5-and-1, whatever. General Nethercott's goal is you can plug and play women wherever throughout. It was 5-and-1, 4-and-2, first through fourth. And I want to say this year was the first time we had men going through 4th Battalion, which was traditionally all women. So change is coming.
Yeah.
Slow and
Do you
steady.
see a lot more women joining the military? Or has there been an increase in the women joining, or no?
I have not given it enough mental rigor to give you an educated answer. It's not in my lane. In my lane, and you hit me up this morning, is Headquarters and Service Battalion, which is, I have 700 Marines, about 1,100 civilians in 54 sections aboard Parish Island. So I got a lot of moving pieces. And then Task Force Commitment, where I've got 170 reservists and up to 2,200 poolees itching to get to the yellow footprints.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of moving pieces.
You're a busy man.
A little bit.
It's been a real pleasure. It's been an honor to have you on our show, Central Florida Salute. I think we're about ready out of time. Okay. Do you have anything you might want to say before we leave? All
I can say is that for veterans like you and the red shirt fire team from this morning, and
the Q,
it's just an honor and it's encouraging. I don't think that young folks understand the importance and the wisdom that veterans bring to the table, and it's a free well of knowledge and information and fellowship and love that they just, I hope they don't miss it.
Yeah, I agree with you. You can say that people can say what they want, but a veteran is going to stick up for another veteran. That's just the way we are. We fought together, we died together, we lived together, and you can't separate that. We're always going to be teasing one another. But
that's what we do. That's love.
That's love. But I guess we're out of time, and I'm going to ask you, because I've been told this. I have a way of ending the show.
Okay.
But I was told a Marine does not salute unless he has a cover on. Is that correct?
Marine will not salute unless they have a cover on. That is correct.
Yes, that's what I meant.
And that's why in what movie was A Few Good Men at the end where he saluted and all the Marines were like, what is he doing? Is he crazy? We don't do that.
Well, sir, I'm going to ask you to put your cover on, because it is time to say goodbye, and I really do appreciate meeting you. And I hope sometime if you're down in this area, you give me a call. We'll go out and have a couple of beers, whatever.
Good try.
It's been.
Hey, if he's buying, I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, Theo Bob ain't going to buy.
Yeah.
So.
Arnold, it was me that told him about the cover.
Outstanding.
All right. So anyway, time to say goodbye, Colonel.
Okay.
And this is how we do it. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Okay. Till next time.
So you got to stand up then.
Oh, now. Hey, wait a minute. It's my show. Okay, we'll do this again, right? All right. To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.
Since 2009, Project SOS has assisted our veterans both overseas and here at home to overcome medical issues, homelessness, and disabilities. Initially, our efforts resulted in over 22 clinics opened in Iraq and Afghanistan. Recently, as troops have been withdrawn, we have concentrated on issues here at home. During this past year, we have been able to distribute 42 motorized wheelchairs and numerous mobility devices to our local veterans who have served in World War II and up to and including Afghanistan. We continue to offer solutions to our local homeless veterans in the Ocala National Forest and other Central Florida locations. Project SOS Support Our Soldiers needs your assistance to continue helping a growing homeless veterans population. Over-the-counter medications and personal hygiene supplies are acutely needed. Your financial aid will greatly increase the support they so desperately need.